government. Honorable Speaker, having now adopted, the House having adopted the BPS 2026, now it is the turn of the House to consider this bill. Honorable Speaker, this bill, Division Revenue Bill, is anchored on Article 218, and it has very, very specific timelines. The law says that the bill must be passed 2 months before the end of the financial year. Honorable Speaker, this bill is aligned with that, the requirement of the Article 218. Honorable Speaker, the consideration of this bill must meet the contents of the Article 218, which also outlines that, Honorable Speaker, we must peg it on the most recent audited accounts of revenues. Honorable Speaker, for this case, the most recent audited accounts of revenues, which has already been passed by the House, is the revenues for 2022-2023 financial year. Honorable Speaker, I also would like to add that the schedule of the bill provides that the total shareable revenue for the year 2026-2027 is estimated at 2,901,874,751,144. And the allocation is as follows. One, national government share is 2,472,272,587,719. County government equitable share, 420 billion. Equalization fund, 9,602,170,425. Honorable Speaker, I just want to emphasize that as we consider this bill, I must indicate that the sharing is a vertical sharing. The sharing is a vertical sharing, and as I've said, the most recent audited revenues are those for the financial year 2022-2023. Honorable Speaker, this bill also contains the equalization fund. Honorable Speaker, under Article 204 sub 1 of the Constitution provides that 0.5% of the revenue collected by the national government each year, based on the most recent audited and approved accounts of revenue by the National Assembly, be paid into the fund. Honorable Speaker, the law requires that before we consider any bill, we must engage in extensive public participation. And I would like to report to the House that the Budget and Appropriations Committee did engage in extensive public participation, and we were able to talk to various institutions, including the Council of Governors, the Commission of Revenue Allocation, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, IGTRC, Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, IBEC, and we also spoke to the National Treasury, among other stakeholders, Honorable Speaker. And this report is based on the input that we received from those stakeholders, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we received also memorandum from other stakeholders, including the private sector and the civil society. Honorable Speaker, as you rightfully said, that this bill is aligned to the BPS statement which you have just passed. Therefore, I would not like to engage in more further discussions because this bill mirrors what was discussed. And Honorable Speaker, we engaged in extensive discussions when we were going through the BPS last week. So, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to spend more time. I just want to indicate that National Treasury has been meeting the arrears of the equalization fund over the years, that we have not been able to factor in all the arrears. So in this bill, there's an allocation of 5.6 billion, which is going to be partial payments of arrears to the equalization fund, which now brings the total allocations to the fund at 15.2 billion for the financial year 2026-2027. Honorable Speaker, Article 218, sub 2 of the Constitution, and Section 191, sub 5 of the PFM Act require the National Treasury to give reasons for any deviation between their proposal for equitable revenue sharing between the two levels of government and the CRA proposal. Honorable Speaker, CRA had proposed 454 billion as shareable revenue to counties. while National Treasury proposed 420 billion in the bill. Now, the deviation, Honorable Speaker, reasons given for the deviation on revenue sharing include the following. That National Treasury projects the shareable revenue for 2026-2027 at 2.901.9 trillion, whereas CRA has a revenue projection amounting to 2.982 trillion. Honorable Speaker, this is a difference of 80.9 billion. The National Treasury attributed their comparatively modest revenue projection to major economic shocks that are likely to negatively affect forecasted revenue in 2026-2027, whereas CRA projection is based on yearly revenue growth. To equitable share, Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury proposes to allocate 2.472.3 trillion to the national government, 420 billion to county government, and 15.2 billion to equalization fund. This is inclusive of 5.6 billion in arrears, whereas CRA proposes allocation of 2.512 trillion to national government and 9.6 billion to the respective institutions. Honorable Speaker, the CRA recommendations are partly informed by high estimated shareable revenue and the inclusion of attendant total resources for remuneration to UHC workers. Honorable Speaker, UHC workers, these are workers that were hired when we had the crisis of COVID crisis. So, Honorable Speaker, their pay is normally factored in the county additional allocations bill. But, Honorable Speaker, the CRA recommends that these resources be moved as part of county share allocations. So, Honorable Speaker, this means that their recommendation is higher than what the National Treasury has proposed, because National Treasury has proposed that the resources be retained under the county government additional allocations bill. Honorable Speaker, as I wind up, I would like to say that, just like we said it when I was considering the BPS, that we are hoping that this financial year, the coming financial year, we are likely to raise more resources because of the reforms that have been recommended for KRA and the resources that have been allocated way above what they have been given in the past. So, Honorable Speaker, if in case we are able to achieve those resources, then maybe we will be able to add more resources to counties. But, Honorable Speaker, because of previous cases where we have not been able to meet our revenue projections, I cannot be optimistic at this stage that we are able to allocate counties more resources. Honorable Speaker, of course, there are also other political factors that must be considered when we will be going to the division of revenue, when we will be going to the mediation between the Senate and the National Assembly. Then the other factors will be considered. I'm listening to my leader, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, and I want to assure him that this is part process of going through the sharing of resources. And there are other more stages that are going to come ahead of us. When we get to those stages, then the allocations to counties most likely will go up. So I want to assure you, Honorable Junet Mohammed, not to worry about my presentation on the floor of the House as far as this bill is concerned. Honorable Speaker, I would like to move and ask the Honorable Makali Mulu to second.
Thank you. Who is seconding? Makali Mulu.
Makali Mulu.
Go ahead, Makali.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I take this opportunity to second the Division of Revenue Bill 2026, Honorable Speaker. And as my chairman has said, Honorable Speaker, this focuses on vertical sharing of national revenue, Honorable Speaker, is well informed by the BPS, which you have just passed, Honorable Speaker. But even as we approve this Division of Revenue Bill, Honorable Speaker, there are about 3 or 4 issues which I think is important and worthy the House noting, so that as we move to the future, we are able to get it right. The first thing, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of the audited reports. Honorable Speaker, you realize that as we are doing the budget policy statement, we are using the figures of 2020-2021 financial year, because those are the ones which had been audited and approved by the House. That is about 4 years behind, Honorable Speaker. And it means really the figures we are using, then they don't really reflect the reality as it is on the ground. Honorable Speaker, with the latest approval which has just taken place, we are now dealing with the figures of 2022-2023, which now pushes again to about 2 years behind, Honorable Speaker. So this, I think, is an area's house. We need, Honorable Speaker, to see how we can fast track so that we help the counties get their rightful share in terms of revenue sharing, Honorable Speaker. The second issue, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of the projected revenue, Honorable Speaker. If you look at the figures being proposed by the CRA, the figures we are proposing as a house, and the figures the Council of Governors are proposing, Honorable Speaker, they are all different figures. Why are they different? They're different basically because we are not getting it right in terms of projected revenue, Honorable Speaker. So I think in the area of national revenue, Honorable Speaker, that's another area we need to improve. We need to come up with a framework which to some extent can minimize these deviations by different organizations. Because CRA is proposing about 454 billion, honorable members. And now we are proposing 420. And when you look at the analysis, the difference is basically because of the revenue figures. So I think we really need to get it right. The third point, Honorable Speaker, is that despite that every year we give these figures, of late there has been a tendency where the counties are not getting their money by the end of the closure of the financial year, Honorable Speaker. Like last year, we actually closed with about 34 billion, which had not been released, Honorable Speaker. And I think this is another area that once we approve these figures then, the national government through Treasury should make an effort of releasing the funds as passed in the Act. So by doing that, Honorable Speaker, we'll be able to enable the counties implement as they are planned, Honorable Speaker, because every year they do their annual budgets. And if we don't release the resources, Honorable Speaker, then we have that challenge. So those three areas, Honorable Speaker, those are areas we can really mention as we approve this bill. And then the last one, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of the issue of costing the devolved functions. If you look at the latest report, Honorable Speaker, by the Intergovernmental Committee, the indication was that we still have about 60 billion worth of functions, which are still at the headquarters, and they should be devolved. So I think that's another area as a house. We need to help the national government so that they devolve those functions. And the law is very clear. Once you devolve functions, Honorable Speaker, you also then devolve the resources for those functions. I think if you go that direction, Honorable Speaker, then we'll be able to give the counties their rightful share, and then we'll be making the right law for the counties. Those my remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members on their feet, take your seats.